Hey everyone, Liz Miller back with another CRCX Convos. You guys might know now that I love talking to people who love what they do. And I absolutely have two amazing examples of that here with me today. My friends Jonathan Rosenberg and Niki Hall, both from the amazing company Five9. And listen, to the both of you, I'm just going to dive right in because we've got so much to cover. Oh gosh, there's this thing. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a new technology, like brand new, hot off the presses. I think you spell it AI, I think is the way you pronounce it. But here's what I wanted to talk to the two of you about, because we have had these conversations privately at various events. I wanted to have it here so our network and folks could hear this, because I think it's super important. I think for a very long time, and I would say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, especially in the contact center, we've had AI, right? We've had AI roaming around, but it was kind of in those early incarnations of that like traditional AI or super narrow AI, things that were, recommendations, predictions, next best action, right? Remember when we thought that was super exotic? We have applied it to process. We've seen some efficiency gains, but it feels different. And I think that that's what's got the market buzzing. It's got everyone excited, but it's also got people asking a lot of really hard and really good questions, because we don't want to run into this without being fully prepared of what the value is going to be or what we should be expecting of our teams, of our people, of our technologies. It used to be a passive assistant, but now it's this agentic partner and it has all these human capabilities and it feels so awesome. It kind of also feels a little scary for people who have been burned by other technologies of the past. So let's dig right in. You two are really at the vanguard of all of this, because with the contact center being oftentimes that first, sometimes last, experience that a customer has, bringing AI into this environment, it can be risky, right? It could be something that if you're not really understanding the value, you're not understanding where you want to go, that A plus the I, it can be a lot of hype, it can be a lot of swirl, it can be a lot of downward tug. So I would love to start with the definition. And Jonathan, maybe I'm going to put this on you.
Sure.
What is agentic AI? How are you defining it? How does Five9 view it? And really, why are you so excited about it?
Yep. To me, it's really simple. We have large language models. We've had those for a few years. We've had ChatGPT for a few years, and you could talk to it, but it couldn't do anything. It could just talk to you. Agentic AI is when you let those things do something. So agentic AI is a large language model combined with the ability to take actions, transfer funds between bank accounts, schedule a healthcare appointment, do the kind of stuff that we've wanted to do in self-service for a long time. That's what agentic AI is.
I often hear folks also, and one of the things that I know that I look for when I'm looking at agentic tools, 100%, that immersive bi-directional conversation powered by a large language model tick, like right at the top of the list. Ability to take action, ability to take autonomous action, right? That ability to move that workflow forward. But I also look for reasoning. Does it have that capability to see the nuance and the context of where it is? Because I feel like that separates that assistant from the agentic. Is that also what you're seeing? Like, because it feels like there's a lot of talk about AI assistants, co-pilots, agents. We're all trying to sort that out. So how do you start to parse between all of these different innovations?
Yeah, listen, these are all ingredients that you need to deliver a great self-service CX experience. Like whether or not you officially include it in the definition of agentic or not is sort of like a little bit of a game of dictionary. Like you can call it that or not. The reality is, once you have an LLM, it's doing some amount of reasoning and thinking. They are in essence intelligent, right? So they are able to think and make decisions. So that's always there. How much or how little personalization, how much or how little context, how much or little personality you give it. These are the differences between a good one and a bad one. And so we're focused on making sure that all that is in there. the true innovation, the jump that we've now seen is this ability to figure out a great way for the large language models to make independent autonomous decisions to take actions. That's the thing that we've now really unlocked. And then everything else is the good difference between good and bad.
And I hear a lot about self-learning too, like it's learning from itself. And Niki, go ahead. Sorry,
No, I was going to say not only that, but like Jonathan, the computing aspect, right? You mentioned it could be scary, Liz, earlier, but it can only be scary if you don't have it set up in the right way. Like you need the right knowledge base and you need the right tools to understand if it's working or not. Is it adhering? Like Jonathan will always talk about RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and the response is only as good as the knowledge it's fed. So is it hallucinating or not, right? So do you have the right tools? It's scary if you don't have the right tools, right? Because you don't have the dashboard to say, is this working or not? But if you have the dashboard and you pilot-proof scale, then it doesn't have to be scary.
That's amazing. And that leads me kind of into the next thing, because, you mentioned RAG. There are so many different techniques that when you really get into AI, all of a sudden you're like, what do you mean there's also cache augmented generation? Like it's RAG, it's CAG, it's all the things that we're using as these techniques on top of this that I think people get really focused on. Oh my gosh, I've got to have all of these things. But are those things the real barrier to getting to what Niki was talking about? Of like, this is really good. We have the guardrails, we have the data, we have the knowledge base. When people are really thinking about taking this next step in AI, really going from passive engine into this agentic opportunity, what are those main barriers that you're seeing? What do they really need to think about of like, if I want to advance, I'm going to make sure we're talking about this? Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to say, I think the number one thing is not tech at all. It's people. Okay. What you need is you need to have people who know what they're doing to implement, define, test, tune, iterate, who know the difference between the things you do for success and the things that can produce a failure. And this, in many ways, Liz, this is one of the most dangerous things about the era we're in. It's so easy for anyone to go like make something that looks like a good chatbot with like 3 minutes of effort, right? Okay. And then, but it's another thing entirely to decide that you're ready to deploy that thing and run it for your production workflows, directly impact your revenue and customer experience. And that's a deceptively, it's less steep of a hill than it was before by a lot, actually, but it's still a hill. And you still want to have people who know what they're doing, that know the right routes to take up that hill. And you need software that they work with. And this is what Niki was talking about. They call this now another buzzword. I've been hearing. You ready for this one? Agent ops.
Oh my gosh.
Agent ops. Please no. There you go, Niki. That's what we can now position this stuff as agent ops. That's a new great term. So you need software that can be your agent
ops next to it, Jonathan, and it solves all the problems. I don't know if you knew that, but like marketing ops, sales ops, rev ops, just stick an ops by it.
I did not invent agent ops, but it's referring to the software that helps the people do these jobs. Yeah. So tools for deployment and version management, and then monitoring and observability that Niki was talking about. So how do you know that when you turn it on in production, like it's saying, I don't know to all of the questions that consumers are asking it? Like, that's something that it's not gonna show up in your demo. Your demo is gonna work, but when you're deployed it, how do you know that? And that's an important part of the solution.
It's that how do you know when you have to give your AI a pip? Like when your team, when you have to pip your team, but how are you pipping AI? And people stumble on that question because as you said, you have to know. You have to have those people that can define the value first. But Niki, this brings me to a question for you, right? Is that I think that for a very long time, those of us who have either had to stand up a contact center, who have been around contact center, who have seen the evolution of cloud, has seen the fast progression of CCaaS, I think for a long time, people worried that this was going to be a really stagnant market. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh God, like it's flying, like it's super, super fast. It's evolving so quickly, and everything across customer experience is evolving quickly. Marketing, sales, commerce, service, it's all happening. It's that swirl that I mentioned, right? That can really feel like that downward tug. So even as the market is moving so fast and so many pitches for AI are flying at contact center leaders' heads. Like, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, I think about what I get pitched in a day, knowing that it's a fraction of what our CX leaders are getting pitched in a day. When you talk to customers, because as the CMO, you've got your finger on the pulse of the market for Five9.
Yep.
What is that beating drum that people are saying, okay, wait a minute, now I have to look at AI. Whereas, 3-4 years ago, they're like, yeah, it might be a fun tool to possibly bring in for my agents. What are you hearing from your customers?
Not even just look at, but how do I keep up? Because if they don't get started today, they're already too late. Our customers, whether or not it's Lincoln Financial, CVS, you name it, they want an integrated solution. Like they keep getting pushed, these AI standalone providers coming to them saying, oh, just buy us. But they want something that's integrated into the system that they've deployed through thousands of agents.
Yes.
Already, right? Like hundreds of thousands of agents are using this, CCAS solution, let's say Five9, and they want it to be built in. So it's intuitive, it's seamless, it just works with the workflow. They don't want to have to bolt it on, try to figure out how do I revise my workflows? How do I train other people? How do I pull out the insights for the managerial insights, et cetera? So what we're really hearing, and whether or not I was at CCW about 3 weeks ago, Contact Center Week, and I sit on the advisory board of CCW, and they just want something that is integrated as a part of their CCAS solution. Ideally, that's what they're looking for. Literally, the 30 advisory board members, whether or not it was,
I don't want 90 things,
right? And they want a partner to help them pilot proof scale, because for years, some of these providers have been working with human agents for, let's say, 100 years, and they know human agents know how to service people. So they're looking for this provider. And if it's just a standalone AI provider, they don't understand the nuance of CX. So they're looking for their CCAS provider to work with them to understand, like, how do I pilot this? How do I prove it out? How do I scale it in a way that I'm not going to disrupt business where it's going to cost money?
Yeah,
that's exactly
where it doesn't feel like a one-off. I mean, because I've been talking with CIOs and chief digital officers, and the thing that keeps coming up about AI is we're great at experimentation. I can run a million different AI experiments in a million different sandboxes across a million different platforms and tools. What I can't do is scale it. And you're looking at anywhere between, like a 10 and 18% swing of what goes into production.
Yeah.
When we asked executives at the beginning of the year, are you deploying AI? It was like, everyone's like, yes, we are deploying AI. It was like a whoosh of head nods. But then we asked the question, are you extracting the maximum value that you anticipated getting out of AI? Only 4% felt that they were extracting the maximum value. So when you start to look at scaling that, do you really want to scale something where less than 5% if you believe you're getting value? So I totally hear what you're saying, Niki, if they're like, no, built in. We want it to work.
And with a trusted partner, right? Someone that they've actually been, like, when you deploy a CCAS solution, it's hard, right? You have to implement it. You have to train all your agents. You have to train your supervisors. You have the insights that come out of it. So you just want it to be with someone that you've already have a proven relationship with, who you have that track record, and it just works. It's like additive.
But it's also,
Niki, it's not. If you take every word you just said and you transpose the word agent to AI agent, you get exactly the same things.
Yeah.
If you want to deploy this thing, you have to train your AI agents.
Yes.
Right.
You have to know how to deploy your AI agents.
Yes.
You have to know how to supervise your AI agents, right? You have to know how to gain insights off of your AI agents. So deploying AI agents at scale has many of the same problems of deploying live agents at scale.
Absolutely.
And that's another reason, exactly why we have.
I heard a contact center leader recently. We were talking about kind of what some of their biggest challenges have been, both in like the migration to cloud and the establishment of content as data, and like all of the things that leaders are really having to do right now. And they said that one of the hardest things that they've had to really do that they didn't think was going to be as hard was training their AI agents how to work with humans.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such an interesting way to put it, because he didn't say training my humans to work with AI. It was, how do I get my AI agents to work with humans? Why? Okay, so I'm just going to ask you both a blunt question, because it feels like a kind of mean question for the market and for like everyone out there. Why is it so hard to remember the human? Like what, like it seems like we just ran into the technology. We get super hyped about it, but somehow when we talk about AI, we focus on it as if it's just going to be this fully autonomous thing that sits over in the corner. We forget that humans are involved, because there's a human on the other side of that AI experience who's actually having an experience.
Yeah, there's a human on every side of the thing.
Yeah.
There's a human talking to it. There's a human training it. There's a human supervising it.
100%.
There's a human monitoring it. There's a human iterating on it. There's a human that handles the things that guy can, that the AI can't. So AI cannot be successful with humans surrounding it in every way.
I love it.
And I think it's because you have all these independent AI startups who've started, and they're saying it just needs to be AI. We don't need to have humans, right? So because there's so many sprouting up, I think they're the ones controlling the narrative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we go back to like what our businesses run on, it's people.
Right.
I mean, sure, AI is going to replace certain tasks that humans do today, like in marketing. I have about 17 different AI teammates. We call them teammates, they're agents, and they're handling different things for us. So campaigns, for example, it used to take a couple weeks to do analysis of how's the competitors positioning themselves, how should we, what is our ideal customer profile, what is the differentiation, blah, 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 right? All the stuff you have to do when you develop a campaign. Now we can do it in like 2 hours because we've created an AI agent, or our brand guidelines. We call it Tone Ranger. So we have, they have names too. Our AI agents.
I love it.
So Tone Ranger, you can put something in to say, is this fit to the brand guidelines of Five9?
Yeah.
And we created it like that, and everyone's using it now.
And I think, I think in fairness, I totally agree with you, Niki. Like these AI startups, it's mud in the water. Yeah. But I also think some of the big platforms, the big hyperscalers that are out there that are kind of the all-encompassing, they have this very loud message of, look how easy it is, and you can just run it all on AI. I think when you start to think of the idea of, oh, I can just let it run loose in my organization and it's going to solve all the problems. It's like the same bad message we sent out there about cloud. Like cloud's going to solve all of our problems and we won't have to do anything anymore because it's just going to be so fast and cheap and amazing. That didn't work out. That didn't necessarily happen. So when we talk about this idea of that partnership, and I love the example that you gave around tone and brand, because that can be so hard to monitor at scale, right? And at global scale. So how do you do that? Do you have other examples where you've seen, whether it's you guys as Five9 or whether it's your customers that are really embracing AI and agentic, how that handoff between AI and human, AI agent, self-serve agent, and that live agent? What are some of the things that you've seen go really, really well that everyone can kind of replicate and apply as they're looking at that AI process?
So I'll start with that. I mean, I think the low-hanging fruit, right, which we've done right away and others are doing too, is almost like table stakes, is let's just make that easy handoff work well. So you consumer connect the AI agent for self-service. It doesn't work out. They need to ask to talk to a live person due to a failure, or the consumer asks to talk to a live person. It goes to a live human agent. Let's make that handoff work good by giving the live agent a great summary of everything that transpired in the conversation with the AI agent, and not just a textual summary, but all the key data that was collected by the AI agent. Let's put that in front of the human agent. Let's also make sure it shows up in reporting and other kind of downstream tools. So that kind of handoff between the AI agent and live agent, that's now table stakes. No brainer. You have to have that. And
are you seeing that have to shift to proactive though? Because I think that I'm hearing also that more and more of like the customer shouldn't have to rage scream.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Yeah. Like the customer shouldn't have to be like, like we've trained everyone to do before.
This is the difference. Again, we said, listen, it's easy to make a good demo, a great experience of something else. And one of the things you need for a good AI agent is to spend a lot of time like defining the criteria and the use cases for when you should actually make a proactive decision to hand off to a live agent. And that's part of the training, right? In the same way you train a live agent to know this is when you should, how you should respond empathetically, here's when you should go to a supervisor, you know, that takes time, right? And you have to train your AI in the same way.
The thing I love about what you just said too is also it fully respects the expertise and the skill of our live agents who have lived it, breathed it, seen it all, done it all. They've had to kind of anticipate that when they can sit there with that live customer. If that type of skill, if that type of person is what's training your AI, like that takes on a whole different dimension, but it brings it back to the human. And so, Niki, I'm going to ask you this, right? I think that, and Jonathan, I think we've talked about this before, right? Like that there is this anticipation that because of reasoning, because of the data, because of the skills that we have on the AI side of that architecture, that we can now anticipate a new level of training that has to go into that when you are asking your AI to take on some more of those kind of human cognitive load, right? Reason like a human, make decisions like a human. So when you start to expect that your AI is going to be trained to do that and be able to deliver that, what should business leaders then start to shift in their mindset of, okay, what should we be then applying this to? Because it's not going to be the same, hey, give me a recommendation process. Like this is a change in business behavior and value and outcomes. So I'm wondering if you guys can share a little bit about that of like, okay, if these automations are going to start to reason in a truly human way, how do we as the people, as the humans evolved on that executive line, how do we have to start changing? How have you guys started to change?
I really think it comes down to trust and governance. Jonathan has heard me say this a lot. You need to ensure that the LLMs that are feeding the answer are providing the right answer. Like Jonathan, for example, he has a team of engineers. So we have something called FlexLM. So it brings out the right LLM depending upon the question asked. And he has a team of engineers in the back end because we aren't just a standalone provider. We're a CCaaS provider. And we have, instead of for years and years and years and years, we have customers who've built these decision trees that's taken forever. What if this? What if that? What if this? But now, based off of kind of all of our learning, Jonathan has a team of engineers who will say, based off of this question, use this LLM to answer it. So, but in order for us as a business leader, me, like as a marketer or any of our customers to know if it's working well, you need to have agent ops, I guess, is, we call it trust and governance, a platform to
understand. Agent ops, here.
Exactly. One thing that we haven't talked about, Liz, and I think it's really critical is voice. Like, right? So like, Jonathan, you and I have talked about this a lot. Like I asked Jonathan, he's our CTO, head of AI. I'm like, with AI agents, it's all like digital, but what about the voice? Like, why is that so important? And I don't know if, I don't think people are talking enough about.
Let's do it.
I think voice is back. Okay. And let's talk about this. Like we've been predicting the death of voice for a long time, but digital is going to replace it. That we all know that didn't happen. Okay. But something else has happened, right? Which is if you look at the consumer AI agents, the AI bots that are out there, they are all really going hard on voice, right? And make like ChatGPT, you can now talk to it. I don't know if you've tried this feature on your phone and stuff like that. It's amazing. It works really well. And what's happening is that people are realizing that if you want to focus on the best experience for the consumer, in a lot of cases, you can convey information much faster with voice than typing it. You can speak better while you're driving. And there's a lot of cases where voice is a really natural modality, and the AI, these technologies gotten so good that voice is really working well. And not just voice with these other modalities too. So I can voice and I can also type something to it at the same time. You can go back and forth between these modes. All the consumer AI agents are now doing this. And I think we'll see a sort of resurgence of interest in, oh my gosh, I thought it was all going to just go to chat, but now I think it's going to go to voice with these other modalities all built in.
And you have to look at the generational, right? So I'm a marketer, so I'm always looking at the target audience, right? So you have you have the baby boomers and you have the Gen Zs. And we just did a study last October, and they still want to use voice. And it's often because the digital channel is so limiting, and they don't want to have to say, I'm forced into this channel. They want to be able to seamlessly hand off between, maybe they start with digital and then they go to voice, and they go to someone who understands their context and their history. 80% of the Gen Zs who provided a response said they want voice. And then the baby boomers, they also want voice. So you have to be able to provide a technology regardless of what you're capable of, but of what the generations need.
We're funny. We humans are funny, right? In that we get into business and then we go and make these big magnanimous decisions on behalf of everyone, right? We don't want to invest in printing mail anymore. So therefore, junk mail is the devil. Paper is going to die, and no one's ever going to print anything. Print is dead. I don't know if anyone heard that already, but print is dead. Voice. Oh my gosh, telephony is hard. No one wants to manage it, right? No one wants to deal with number provisioning. It's hard. So voice is dead too. And when I hear those big statements, and considering that millennials, one of the most attention grabbing and brand sticky vehicles for younger generation, print mail, because they never get it, right? It's like something so unique. They're like, oh, look at this beautiful, like fancy Valpak is a thing, you guys. I don't know if you've known it, but like they now design these Valpak holders so that people can put them up on their mirror because they're so beautiful and they're gorgeous. And it's these really right? Who knew, right? But print is not dead. Like, like I don't even understand why that happened. But I always think of this great ad campaign that came out probably about 20 years ago, where it was a very simple line, and it just said, instant coffee never killed coffee. But when instant coffee came out, when Folgers Crystals was first introduced, the coffee industry freaked out because they're like, you can't get rid of coffee grounds. It's going to kill coffee. And instant coffee never killed coffee, right? Voice. And as much as we can say AI is the new UX, I firmly agree with you, Jonathan and Niki, that voice is going to be the next UX, right? That is going to be where that user interface actually happens. But it's going to flex, it's going to weave, it's going to mean different things. It's going to mean that I can say something in English and someone in Korea completely knows what it is in an instant. You're not waiting on a translation, you're not waiting on the dial. That changes experience fundamentally for everyone. So this is what I'm going to ask you. Yikes. What does that then start to mean when we evolve to the next thing, right? Because there's always going to be a next thing. It's going to be, like when we all were like, we're going to communicate through pictures, and everyone's like, no, we're not. That's stupid. Hey, Instagram. Or like, it's going to be a new thing. So as we start to communicate in this new way, as we start to mold experience in a new way, how are you seeing, like, what if you were to say to your customer, prep now for 2 years from now? Given that voice is still central, images are still central, video is still central. People want to be able to call in to figure out how to fix their oven and switch over to WhatsApp and have that image, but then they want the text to come back as a rich text message. There's this expectation of almost omnimodal communication. What would you each say to your not best customer, not your most leading edge customer, but your lagging customer, the one, Niki, that you're hearing that's like, I don't want to be left behind? What's something they can do today that gets them to accelerate down that path to better and to best and to that new space? What would you tell them they could do or think differently about?
You want to go, John?
I'll take a stand. Yeah, because I think you sort of hinted at the answer already, Liz, right? Which is you got to connect these silos together. A lot of contact centers today, they have like their chat is chat for department one is from vendor one, right? And then chat, but a different department bought chat from a different vendor. And then they have 3 CCAS, 3 contact centers on voice that are on different vendors, and none of these things tie together, right? So if your modalities are split by department and by vendor, if they're split by use case, you can never deliver a great unified experience across all these channels. How can you possibly have a system that allows someone to be speaking and then type something and then move back and forth seamlessly when you've decided to split those things across different vendors. And this gets back down to the case for omnichannel, which is again is an old idea, Liz, but it's an old idea that now has new meaning because of the powers of these AI agents, because they are natively multimodal, they are natively omnichannel. And so if you want to take the best advantage of those things, you have to bring it together. And the same with the personalization. Liz, you talked about this too, is like, how do you make these things like have all this data and, you know, and all this cache about you? Well, the problem is that our silos get in the way again, right? If you've got all these silos where sometimes a consumer speaks over there and sometimes they speak over there, like each of those AI agents are not going to know about what happened in the other places unless you're able to bring it together. So get that platform consolidation going, because you're never going to be able to keep up on customer experience with AI agents without it.
You know, in a perfect example of that, we have a customer. It's an $8 billion waste management company.
Yeah.
And they are doing just that. They're breaking down silos internally using Five9, from a service perspective, but also field service. Are the trash folks picking it up? Are they taking pictures, right? So it's connecting field service with customer service and operations and the COO, the whole entire company. And now they're about to roll it out to marketing. The whole entire company is using Five9 to understand the customer, understand the workflows, understand what's working, what's not working, and make decisions based off of that. So like what Jonathan said, we have customers living it today, and they're actually leading edge customers, CIOs.
Love it. Okay, so as we start to wrap up here, I'm going to ask you a question. You both have been using AI. You've been working with customers on AI. You've been evolving AI, not just for Five9, but internally for the organization. You've been leading as much as you've been learning. So I'm going to ask you each this. What are kind of the most surprising lessons you've each learned in this new age of AI? And what would you share with your C-suite peer? Of like, this is the most surprising, like, I never thought that this was going to be something I thought.
Yeah. Do you want me to start, JD?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not always right. You know, you create something with the best intentions, but hallucinations really do happen. So we're trying to create a competitive AI teammate, and it doesn't always get it right. We actually have to use our competitive human who does competitive intelligence on our team. And he looks at it and he's like, that's not getting it right. So for some things like campaigns, it's working very well, but you still need that human oversight. So I would tell my peers, if that was the question, like other CMOs, try it. Pilot proof scale, or you're going to be left behind. There are certain things today that it's really, really, really good at. And there's other things, it's so nuanced, maybe not, it's not so great yet that you still you really do need the human intervention. So for campaigns, I need maybe my team to spend 10% of their time looking at the campaign it's developed, but, or ABM, oh my gosh, account-based marketing. It used to take us a week or so to develop a campaign. Now we're developing one campaign per day, targeted for each persona per vertical. So we're working with our sales team. It's game changing.
Nice.
But there's also other areas like competitive where it's, you still need 50% of the human to be actually working on it and revising it. So it's a pilot proof scale, get started, and make sure you still have that human oversight.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
What surprised you?
I think it's along similar veins, I think, which is that I think it's if you look at these things and you say they're intelligent, and then you sort of associate them it's like a person intelligent, but it's not. It's intelligent, but it's not a human intelligence. It's a new type of intelligence that we created. And that means it can sometimes do things that are unexpected. Like you give it a prompt and you tell it to do something, and it'll say something or do something that a person wouldn't have done that. And so I think that's surprising, and it produces a bunch of different ways that you have to then think about deploying them for CX use cases, right? One thing we've seen is you kind of have to micromanage them. Like the instructions that you give it have to be super, super detailed, more than you might do a person. In fact, you'll have to specify things you wouldn't have to specify for a human, but because this isn't a human intelligence, you find you have to do that too. So that again leads to what Niki was talking about, this sort of surprising, this trust and governance stuff actually becomes like way more important than you thought, right? Which is you need the tools to train it, you need the tools to monitor, observe it, and constantly be iterating to make it better.
Love it.
That's
Love it. Okay, last question for each of you. It's like prediction. It's like crystal ball time. Okay. I'm going to ask you for 2 stages of the crystal ball, though. If you look into your crystal ball, you're looking out a year from now. We get together a year from now. If you could tell us what someone's first step should be and where you predict they're going to be in a year when it comes to AI, when it comes to CX, what are you seeing? What should be the first step be, and where do you predict that's going to take them in a year? Niki, maybe I'll start with you.
Okay. The first step, just get started. I know I sound like a broken record, but I think there's so many people who are afraid, and if you're afraid, you're going to be left behind. So whether or not you're in CCAS or you're a CMO, you need to get started and pilot proof scale. A year from now, I have to say, like, I wrote a blog on agentic AI because I am so excited what agentic AI is doing for the industry. I think it's as game changing as what the internet was. When the internet started, it completely changed communication. Like we used to
mess with us for a while,
right? We used to pick up a phone, it was connected to the cord, and then all of a sudden you're emailing. I mean, it completely changed. Agentic AI is going to change every single thing we know, the way we work, live, learn, play. I wonder where that came from, JDR. We both
like it.
But it really is. So I'm super excited about what the future will hold. I think as a CMO, I'm going to see probably 50% more output. I know at least from an ABM perspective, account-based marketing, I mean, we're experiencing like 100% more output.
Amazing.
Creating personalized landing pages, personalized messages for certain prospects. We know what they're looking. I mean, it's insane. So just get started.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Get started. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to go to like 100% agentic. Like, again, sometimes the simple things that have low risk and high return, just start with those. You don't have to go crazy. And then incrementally improve from there. That would be sort of the main thing I would suggest. And in a year, I think you'll find you're farther along than you thought you would be by starting simple.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Thank you guys so much. This has been an amazing conversation. We could probably go on for like another hour talking about this, but I really appreciate your time. Folks, Jonathan Rosenberg, Niki Hall, Five9. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank you. Great conversation.
Yeah, loved it.